Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be taking the contents of one of our text areas and we're going to be saving them and putting them into a file in our system. Let's start by creating a function that will do that. So I'm going to call this save file. And what we have to do here is we have to ask the user where in the system they want to save the file. We're going to do this first of all so that we know that they actually want to save it, because they can always press cancel, and so we know where the file is going to go. So we'll say file path equal file dialog dot ask save as file name, all one word, which is not very nice, but nonetheless that's how it is. And make sure that from Tkinter you import file dialog. This file dialog here is going to ask the user using the system dialogs where to save the thing that you want to save. So let's go ahead and, before continuing with this, just to show you what it looks like, add an element to the menu that will call this function. So down here in the file menu .add command, we're going to copy that, but instead of new, we're going to call this save, and the command is going to be save file, and again, make sure to not call the function. Let me run this app here, and I'll type hello world, and I'm going to go and save. And notice that we got a few things going on. First thing that we got was an error, or seemingly something that looks like an error. It's actually a warning. And what it says is that somewhere in your system, there is an ambiguous way of calling this dialog. So you don't have to worry about that at all. That's just a problem in my system. You may not even encounter this issue. And the second thing is that you get this dialog. This is a Mac dialog. In Windows and in Linux it'll look different, and here you can save as a specific name and you can give it tags. This is just a Mac thing, and you can decide where you want to save it. Now I'm going to press cancel, and that's it. So this is what our save file function does for now, but note that it only asks the user for the file name and the location. It doesn't actually perform the saving, which we do have to do. So we're going to go ahead and import OS at the top, and then we're going to try to get the file name from the file path. So we'll do os.path.basename, and we will pass in the file path. Given a path such as, for example, /users/jose/file.txt, os path basename will give you file.txt. If you're using a Windows style path, it'll also work with that. So this is a great way of ensuring cross-platform compatibility. Next up, we're going to get the currently selected text widget. Remember that we can have multiple tabs in our system, so by selecting the current one, that is the one that we've just tried to save to our computer. So let's say that text widget is equal to root.nameToWidget notebook.select. Now this does a few things. First of all, the select in the notebook is something that returns the widget name of the currently selected pane. Now you can pass in a tab ID, and then what it does is it actually goes and selects a particular tab. But if you don't pass in a tab ID, which we're not doing, then it's going to give us the name of the widget. In Tkinter, names can be used to uniquely identify particular widgets, such as text areas, notebooks, frames, and so on. So by getting the currently selected widget, we're then going to use the root, which is the main window, to turn that name into a widget. This has to be called on the container of whatever widget name you are getting. Then we're going to perform some pretty ugly black magic. We're going to say that the content of the text widget is text_widget.get, and we're going to go from the first line and the first character. So this is the first line, it starts at 1, and the 0th character, which is the first one. So just before the first character, we're going to go until the end of the content in the widget. However, due to the way that text areas work in Tkinter, if you do from 1.0 to end, you're going to end up with an extra new line character at the end, just because that's always there in these widgets. There's always an empty new line character at the end. So what you want to do is you want to go to the end, except for the very last character, which is always this new line character that you didn't add yourself. So we do end -1c for end except the last character. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, we can go ahead and actually open the file path, and we're going to open for writing as file, and then we will do file.write content. Okay, next up we're going to add an accept, and we're going to accept for attribute error and file not found error, and we're going to just print an error message, save operation cancelled. And then we're going to return. So if we close the window, or we didn't get a file name, or the file was not found in the system, then we are going to print save operation cancelled, and we're going to return. Otherwise, we're going to, of course, save the file into our disk, and then we're also going to say notebook.tab, and we're going to pass in a tab ID, but there is a special tab ID in notebook tabs, which is current, and that selects the currently selected tab. And here we're going to pass in a text of file name. And this file name here is what we extracted earlier, and what this is going to do, as you might imagine, it is going to rename the current tab so that the name of the tab will henceforth be file name. Let me run app.py just to show you everything we've done in this video. And here we have our first empty file that we created using the create file function. I'm going to call it welcome to our text editor. Then I'm going to go ahead and save this. And what's happening when we do this is, first of all, we ask where we want to save. So I'm going to save it as test.txt in my desktop. And then a bunch of things happened all in one place. First, we got the file name, which is test.txt, from the path that the dialog gave us back. Then we got the current widget, which is the one that we have selected at the time of saving. We got all the content. We opened the file using just good old Python, and we wrote the contents into the disk. And then at the end, we renamed the current tab so that it is now no longer called untitled, it is called test.txt. So hopefully that makes sense. We have done quite a lot of work in this video, but most of it is just normal Python. And there is a few Tkinter use cases, like asking for a file name, getting a particular widget, this piece of beautiful code that gets you the content, and then, of course, renaming a tab. So thank you for joining me in this video. I hope you've learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.